you can imagine how many times I have these discovery calls with brands. They're like, no, we've got our own technology. We've been working on this for a while. And then I look at it, I'm like, oh, that's like a high school development project. I think my 20-year-old could have made something better than that.
If you're an emerging franchise founder, you already know this. The jump from 10 to 100 units is where most brands stall out. Not because the concept isn't strong, but because the founder is drowning in chaos. I'm Guy Coffey, franchisor, franchisee, and growth strategist. I've been where you are, and I know what it takes to build a brand that scales without burning out, selling out, or losing control. That's why I created the Franchise Scale-Up Show. Every week, I'll share the playbooks, the red flags, and the mindset shifts to separate the brands that stall from the ones that scale. So if you're serious about protecting your vision and multiplying your brand, hit subscribe right now. This is the Franchise Scale-Up Show. I'm Guy Coffey. Let's get to work. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Franchise Scale-Up Show with me, Guy Coffey, and today's special guest, Dave Hansen from ClientTether. Welcome to the show, Dave.
Hey, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Well, I know you're a busy guy running your business and doing your own podcast and doing all the other things that you do in life out there in Salt Lake City. So I really appreciate the time. And today, what we're going to go over is not just ClientTether, but a lot of general trends that you're seeing in franchise development because you live in that world. Some suggestions for people to increase their conversion rates. But first, the person. Like, tell us a little bit about Dave and how ClientTether started. I remember having a conversation with you, I think it was 4 or 5 years ago when it was kind of a lot smaller than it is now. So take us through your journey in just a little bit, if you would.
Sure. No, I appreciate you having me on. And I think like most people, I kind of got roped into franchising. Like unless you're Johnny Francis or Zach Fishman, right? Like, no, or
Right?
Angela Cote technically too. But like, other
Yeah,
than
good
those
point.
three, I think everybody else kind of got roped in or fell in. And I had a neighbor he was one of the three founders to the 5-star franchising system early on. And he exited and started another franchise and built this technology platform to support a multi-unit franchise. But I had no idea about the tech. We were at a young men's camp out in the mountains and making sure the boys don't burn the forest down. And I asked him how
Mhm.
business was, and he's like, "Oh, the painting franchise is doing great." And then he said, "I've got this technology company," and I started laughing because I grew up in tech and I've run anything and done consulting in like avionics and language services, ed tech, all sorts of things, high end systems management software. So when he said that, I was like, "What?" And then I asked him a bunch of questions, and he's like, "I don't know, I don't know, I don't know, I don't have a plan for that yet." And he's like, "Why don't you come
Okay.
help me run it?" And I was like, "No, I'm running a translation company right now. I don't have time for that." So, but it kind of led into this really interesting dialogue with him about what he'd done because he actually told me what ClientTether could do, and this is 8.5 years ago now. And I
Okay.
said, "You can't do that. Like, no one can do that right now." And he just looked at me like, "What is wrong with you? Like, why would you say that?" And when he showed me what he could do, I was like, "Dude, I was running a Salesforce shop at the time. I had plugin after plugin after plugin trying to automate sales because it's always kind of been my thing." And turns out he already built a system that did it all. And I was like, "That's nuts." And he was probably 8 years ahead of his time, maybe 9
Wow.
with what he'd built. So anyway, but I didn't have time really. I just kind of volunteered and helped him with some pro bono stuff to get him pointed in the right direction. And about every quarter, he'd call, "Hey, you ready?" "No." "Hey, you ready?" And then the day that I'll keep this brief, but the place I was working, the CEO really had a hard time. He's going through some tough stuff, but it bled into the company. And I was like, there's this day where I just decided, I don't. It doesn't matter if I have ownership in this company. I'm out of here. And
Mm.
a minute later, my phone rang and it was Conrad. And he's like, "Hey, you ready? You ready to help me come run ClientTether?" And I was like, "Dude," look up heavenward, like, I guess this is time. Let's talk about it. So I
Right.
guess that's me. I'm a dad of 4 kids, cancer survivor, set of twins, kid on the spectrum. They're all adults now. We live outdoors. We love fishing and hiking and rock hounding. I blacksmith in the garage. I'm a nerd. Love to read books. So finishing up the 5th Brandon Sanderson in the Stormlight Chronicles now. So like, I don't know, like I've got a beautiful wife.
Wow.
We met in Illinois when we were 14 at a church dance. So that's kind of my life. Sometimes it feels a little idyllic and it never
Yeah.
is, in real life, but it's just saying that out loud. I've got it pretty good. Honestly, we've been real blessed.
Yeah. Yeah. That's quite the gratitude list right there. And I think you're the first guest I've ever had that's also a blacksmith.
Okay.
So I have to ask before we get into what do you blacksmith or what do you create with blacksmith? I don't like is that a verb or is that a noun?
It is now. You just made it a verb. Yeah.
Okay,
Uh,
thank you. Blacksmithing.
so I'm just a hack. So I'm an aspiring blacksmith, but I make knives mostly. I made a pirate sword once for a client of mine, and I don't know. That's mostly just that. I actually want to learn how. I want to make like tools and things too, but it's easier to buy them, so I just buy the tools so I can make the fun stuff. Yeah.
Right. That is so interesting. Wow. Not a lot of moss growing on that rock. You're just rolling all the time, it seems like.
Well, I'm ADHD, my poor mother, right? Like, just
Yeah.
imagine like 5-year-old Dave, like, it would have been rough. So hats off to mom on this one.
Well, hopefully blacksmithing didn't start at 5 years old. That sounds dangerous.
No, but I was out making, like, wooden swords, like, I've always kind of been obsessed with that since I was a kid, so, yeah,
Very
maybe
cool.
not 5. 5, I started my first little business venture, which didn't go
Oh,
great. Yeah, but I started making wooden swords when I was probably, like, 10 or 11.
yeah. Well, tell me about your conversation. This is of real interest because, we have people listening that have partners, had partners, looking to partner with people. And it sounds like Conrad is a very persistent person. And obviously, if you're persistent, once in a while, you're going to get the timing right, which sounds like he nailed it. Um, and then, so you said, all right, I'm going to go actually get paid to help Conrad because it sounds
Mm.
like you're that kind of a guy you were helping out before you even were monetizing that. And then, is he still part of ClientTether? And it seems from your story, I got that he was running a painting franchise and
Mhm.
he told you, a tech guy, that he had a tech company, which is usually a disaster because people do that kind of thing and they get down the path. I will tell you, I won't name names, but you know exactly the company I'm talking about. Is in the early days with one of our concepts, we chose a CRM system, franchise management system that was created by another big franchise system that had to do with food. And we went down the path and 3 years later found out it wasn't tracking our emails correctly. And they were like, yeah, we're not going to fix that because this isn't our thing anymore. It's like, oh, okay, great. We have a
Right.
big gaping hole right now in terms of documentation of communications that happened.
Yeah.
Um, so usually it's a disaster story. Like, oh, I had this idea, I put some money towards it, and then I figured out like SaaS isn't just created and you're going to be a billionaire. But this time it's actually worked out. So tell us what was the difference?
Yeah, man. Well, I just want to resonate with what you shared because you can imagine how many times I have these discovery calls with brands. They're like, "No, we've got our own technology. We've been working on this for a while." And then I look at it and I'm like, "Oh, that's like a high school development project. I think my 20-year-old could have made something better than that." And but
Mm,
that voice is resonating in the market now because everyone's like, "Oh, Replit," or I can go build my platform. And I just had a young brand, and God bless him. Like, I really wish him the best, but like, there are these two young guys that know how to do a little bit of AI stuff. They probably have Codex or Base 44 or something, or Lovable. And they told this guy they're going to build him a CRM, an LMS, and a franchise management system this year for him from the ground up, just for him.
yes.
And I was like, do you not know the story of Franchisely? And they had $4 million of capital, right? Like, they burned through that and they tried to build too broad, too thin, and an inch thin and a mile wide doesn't help anybody. Right.
Right.
So, but yeah, I hear this everywhere, that people are like, I'm just going to build it. We're going to build it. AI can build it now. And it's still like, all of that does is it gets you to an inch thin and a mile wide faster,
Yeah.
without the infrastructure. And I just did an episode on this on the advisory board, but like, a brand that's actually done it well, he already had software developers and a software development background. He was already a product manager before he started his franchise. So, like, if you've got the
Mm,
infrastructure, you can have a product owner, you can have QA and testing engineers, you can have development teams, you can have project management resources, you can manage the whole thing, and you can afford to pay $400,000 a year on your payroll to manage software, and you're recouping $410,000 a year of fees from your franchise owners for the software. I say do it, like, sweet. But
Yeah.
I think what made it different
1% for
yeah,
1%,
yeah,
right?
yeah, no way. There's no way, right? What's $400,000 a year divided by point zero 0.01? That's how much you gotta collect in money from your franchisees, so figure that out first, right? But
Right.
but I think what made it different, Guy, was that it was highly, highly focused, right? Like, we've never tried to be everything to everyone. We know what we do exceptionally well, so do our clients, and anytime we have an opportunity to stray outside of that, my solution has been, let me go find a partner who's already amazing at that. And then let's just integrate them in. So we've kind of become where people know us for like sales automation, right? And CRM and all that stuff, Fran Dev and unit ops. Like we do both and we're the only one that does. But people, the reason why people like it is because we haven't said, oh, we're also going to be a full-fledged FMS, like franchise management system now. Oh, we're also going to do your advertising for you. Oh, we're also because as
Mm,
soon as we get too thin, then we have no expertise anymore, and we have to just spread our dev resources, our QA resources all across the board. So I think that's really the secret. That's not really a secret. Is what is it, the hedgehog principle? Like just good to
yeah.
great. Know what you're the best in the world at and do it. And that's what we've really tried to do since I got here.
Yeah. Well, it seems to be working. I remember our conversation a long time ago. It was very, you didn't have all that many clients then. And then now talking to a lot of franchise brands, well, it seems like every other one is using ClientTether, and I will say, and it's not just because you're on the show, it's one of those vendor partners that everybody has said, like, I'm glad I'm with them.
Mm, that's nice.
We used to have a joke for the POS, which is so important in beauty and fitness, is the one that you dislike the most is the one you're with, because you know all the bad things about it and everything like that. For someone to say, like this, we use Client Tether, and I'm really glad we're with them, is because nothing's perfect, right? There's going to be challenges, and I imagine it's how you guys react to the challenges and figure out ways to fix issues and client experience and client service that makes a big difference. Where they feel like this is the gist that I've gotten from you is like, yeah, they actually listen, they hear, and it's either, yeah, we can fix that or we can do this, or like that's not what we do. It's
Mhm.
a clear communication of this is our lane, that's someone else's lane. And maybe you can point them in that direction, because it's one of the
Yeah.
other things that I've noticed about you, Dave, is you are anything with related to franchising, conferences, events, discussion groups, people. You just mentioned, two of my favorite people in franchising, Angela Cote and Johnny Francis. And we were just at dinner with John Francis last week here in
Oh,
Denver.
nice.
Um, like you are embedded, and you have a lot of conversations, I imagine. It's another one of the reasons for your success.
No, I appreciate that. I appreciate the kind feedback too. And I'll also just resonate that no matter who you are, how good you are, how good your dev is, you always screw something up. We do all the time. Our clients know that. But it's because we're trying to like expand and get better and do cool things. And but it's what you said. It's really how you choose to react to the negativity, the mistakes, owning them when you make them. I don't know. I'm just an Illinois farm kid, so I've always kind of approached technology from that perspective of, hey, why don't we just be honest with each other, and why don't I tell you what we can and can't do? And I've had many conversations where someone's like, hey, I want you to do this, and I want you to send a message to my toaster and warm up my coffee in the morning. I'll be like, it's not what I do. If you want to do
Mm,
that, though, why don't you go get a Zapier account? And then make sure you're smart. I'll coach them how to do it, or I'll
right.
introduce them to a friend in the industry. Sometimes on rare occasion, I'm like, you know what you're asking for is actually something more. I've got a competitor that does it better than I do. Why don't you go talk to them? And for whatever reason, honesty wins out in the end. Often they'll come back to me and say, that was kind of a disaster. So let's strip that out of our requirements and let's just get focused on what you do well, right? I'd much rather
Okay.
have that conversation than, hey, I oversold you on a bunch of stuff we don't really do. Like that's a terrible
Yeah.
position to be in.
Yeah. Yeah. And unfortunately, a lot of software companies do that. They talk, anything that's on the, what do they always say? It's on the project
The
development
roadmap,
schedule.
on the roadmap.
Yeah, it's on
Yeah.
the roadmap. It's on the roadmap. Like, well, how many years out are we going to get to that destination? Right?
Oh, man, I gotta tell you a sad story about that. Like, I had a years ago, like 7 years ago, I had a brand that said, "Hey, we really," this is way before we had a mobile app. We've had a mobile app for years, but this is before we had one. And I said, "Hey, we plan on building one, but it's not on our immediate roadmap." And yet the CEO heard me say, "Roadmap on?" And she assumed that it was imminent, and I didn't know that she
Mm,
had made that assumption. So we started going down the road like in a pilot, and maybe a month in, she's like, "Well, hold on, where's the mobile app?" And I was like, "What are you talking about? Like,
mm,
I've never committed to that. Like, it's not even in the dev plan right now." I told her honestly, like probably almost those exact words, and she got really mad. She's like, "You promised me a mobile app, and we're not going to move forward with you guys." And I was like, "Wow." Like, I maybe it was a healthy thing though, early on, like I
mm.
learned how important it is to make sure that you're crystal clear with like what the words are that you're saying about what you're going to build. And
Yeah,
ironically, we're still like friends. Like now, like I think she knows me well enough now over the years to be like, okay, there must have been a miscue somewhere, but
right.
yeah, really important. Like you got to be honest and manage expectations super clearly.
Yeah. Sometimes, the distinction between an expectation and an agreement is vast. And that's where resentments reside, in the difference between expectations and agreements, right?
Yeah, totally true.
Yeah. 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 So where is Client Tether today? And it is, you mentioned you're a Fran Dev CRM, a sales automation tool for sure, right?
Hmm.
And in then you're also in improvement of unit operations, which seems like two vastly different things. And the two expertises rarely live in the same brain. In my experience, tell us a little bit about that.
Well, it's ironic because I think we're better known for being a Fran Dev CRM because we have hundreds of brands that trust us daily to do that.
Mhm.
But that actually came about because I don't know. Do you know Janice Charles? Have you ever run into her before? Franchise consultant.
Mm, I
She's
haven't. No.
been doing it for 30 years probably now. But she reached out to me years ago, probably 6.5 years ago now. And she's like, "Hey, can I use this for? I see your brands that use you for unit ops are killing it. Could I use this for Fran Dev?" And back then, I was still really new to franchising, and wasn't familiar with the term Fran Dev. So I was like, "Janice, what's Fran Dev?" And she on the Zoom kind of looked at me like, "What?" She explained. I was like, "Oh, I get it. Yeah. So, how do you do it?" And she showed me 5 different tools cobbled together. And I said, "Oh, well, let me show you how I do that in our platform." When I was done, she said, "Dave, you're an idiot. This is the best Fran Dev tool I've ever seen in like 25 years. Like, you need to
Really?
sell the Fran Dev tool." So that's when we started. But 6 years, five, almost, yeah, about 14, yeah, about almost 5 years before that, 5.5, we'd been using ClientTether exclusively as a unit operations stack. So it was purpose built for that. I think the reason why it works well is because it's the sales automation side of it that is completely a lift and drop, right? Like you need the same architecture and tools to manage franchise development as you do to manage front end leads for a unit. And that's a superpower of ours. So I think it's
Mm,
why it was a natural corollary. Now, obviously we built, we FTD automation and a bunch of different things in the platform that are specific to Fran Dev, but we already did e-signatures for the proposal system. Like so much of what we needed to augment was already mostly done because of how broad our offering is on the unit side. So it's
okay.
been fun because it's also such an easy thing to solve for is Fran Dev.
Yeah. Yeah. So I noticed on your LinkedIn profile, this does relate. I'm not totally switching gears on you. Is like you've got an arm and then you got a robot arm, and I'm sure it's humans and AI basically, and automations,
Mhm.
doing a lot of the lift. But it seems like the systems that are doing best with those combinations are freeing up the humans to do human things, and having real conversations and things like that. And a lot of the operational, regular kind of stay in contact, those kind of things are happening through the automation. I'm curious to know, because obviously the brands that you have, which are many and doing very well, you must recommend some kind of balance, or some kind of what do they call it? Human loop or something like that to make sure that, it's like, oh, we've set this automation thing. It's going to contact them 12 times. And then we find out that it's contacting a current client about new offers that are for new clients only or something like that. So, what do
Yeah.
you recommend for that, or what's your general thinking on that balance between AI and human
Humans.
interaction in both of these, also on the consumer, marketing side as well as the Fran Dev side?
Yeah, it's a really good question, and it's even more important to think it through and do it well with AI because AI can do so much to help businesses now. We have multiple AI integrations into our platform to even augment what we do, right? And people used to ask us if we were AI because of how good the automations are, but there's a two-prong approach to automating that I think works best, and it's yeah you have to contextualize and you have to automate and personalize, right? So, I mean, personalize and contextualize. And what I mean by that is, let's just talk about franchise operations for a flooring company, for example. You're going to have leads that are coming off of like an Angie or a Thumbtack or a Modernizer or Networks, right? One of these channels that are paid, and when they're paid, it's Ricky Bobby, right? If you ain't first, you're last. Because if you're the third guy that calls that lead that just got sold to 5 people and the consumers didn't know what was going on, and even though the government overturned the ruling around this one-to-one rule they were going to make go live in January of last year, even though they overturned that, the consumer issue still existed. So a lot of people have shifted, but 4 or 5 people get that lead. You're even the third call. They're mad. They're like, leave me alone. Like I'm getting all these random calls from people. I don't know any of you guys. So,
Hmm.
so being fast is still mission critical. Everyone's attention span has gotten shorter. There's this metric in the industry. It keeps getting spouted. I know where it started, but I won't say their name on air. But 4 hours, like they're like, yeah, you got to follow up with your leads in 4 hours. I've consulted for sales strategy in probably a dozen industries now. Zero of them believe that baloney. Everybody else is on the same playbook. It's 5 minutes or less. But that metric is a decade old. Really, the faster you can engage with a lead in a meaningful way, the higher your likelihood is to convert them into a meaningful conversation and then move them down your funnel, right? It's all about speed to lead to get conversions up. But the way that we engage matters. And so having just a generic, most platforms have like a super generic automation, like, thanks for reaching out. What do you want to know? Like, that's not personalized at all. So you have to personalize it better. But you and I also get all these emails that are, or text messages that are hyper personalized. Like, hi, Dave, I see that in Salem, Utah, you guys are growing ClientTether really well in franchise development. And you're like, dude, how many tokens did you drop in this email? That's a joke. So, and we
Yeah.
can all read it. It's unnatural, right?
I've
So
gotten both of those today. So
I
you're
probably
exactly
got
right.
3 that my admin scraped out of my inbox for me today, maybe more. But that's kind of the
Yeah.
whole point of like the fist bump between tech and the human. So you have to humanize the automation first. And frankly, video is the best way to do that. Like put yourself, like automate getting yourself in front of people using video. It's still the best. You want to 3x your email engagement rate? Use video. You want to improve engagement with even the texts that you send out? Try to point people back to videos where you're talking to them.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's wild and it's simple. Go get a Vidyard account or a Loom account. You can get a free Vidyard account, host 25 videos. I've been using that platform for like 9 years now. And
Okay.
and it's funny because my CEO came to me as I was leading a sales org, and he's like, "Hey, I want you to start sending videos." And we're working with Fortune 500s, and I said, "Nobody wants to see a video of me in their inbox." And he was right, and I was dead wrong. Like I started doing a couple of videos probing, and I would get crazy engagement from people like Caterpillar and Optiv and all these massive companies. And
Really?
yeah, and we even had an issue. And anyway, we even use video when like if there's a mess up on a delivery, and that's a big deal in the localization world, translation world. Like I'd create a video about it. Just like, hey, so sorry. Once like our team royally messed something up. So I did a video of me like pogo sticking with rollerblades on. And I was like, look, sometimes people ask us to do hard things and we try them and we screwed up. Like it's like pogo sticking with rollerblades on. Like it, but the customer was like, dude, that was ridiculous. But also, I appreciate the apology and let's get another project going. Like they forgave us, right? And
Right.
I think it comes back to what we talked about before. You got to be real and honest with people. Own it when you make a mistake. I mean, these are things I try to teach my kids, right? But
Sure.
I feel like I shouldn't have to teach the industry, but it's true.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting. I think that, you know, you were going to give us at one point in this conversation three three things that people should change in order to double their conversion rates. Now, um, is that on the Fran Dev side as well as the other side?
No, I
Anything?
think universal. It's kind of a universal truth.
Okay.
So the first one, let me break down speed to lead for a minute. So we've started talking about the 5 minute rule. You need to have meaningful contact with your leads within 1 minute. And I'll just share
Ooh,
the secret. Like, here's the secret sauce. You have to immediately send an email with a video in it and a link to schedule. So if they are in their inbox, they should be engaging with a 20-second video of your face, or whoever's trying to set the appointment with them, their face, um, and a link to schedule so they can take action. But step two
okay.
is within like 1 minute after the lead pops, unless it's after hours. You have to have a system smart enough to say, "Oh, it's 11 o'clock at night. This is a whiskey lead on a Friday." That's what we call them. Somebody's drinking like,
Whiskey leads.
I hate my job. I'm going to go buy a franchise with a nickel." Like, those are whiskey leads, right? And we all get, everybody in Fran Dev gets them, but home service people get them too, where it's like, I hate my porch and, whatever. So you don't want to be reaching out to people at 11 with a text, because it sets the expectation you'll respond. And the worst thing you can do is respond with a text and not then reply when they get back to you. That pisses
Sure.
people off. So anyway, within operating hours, normal hours, text within a minute, and then you call 2 minutes later. Most people don't do this. And the reason why you call, so within 3 minutes, you've emailed, texted, and now called. The 2 minute gap gives their phone enough time to recognize that you're a human. You're not probable spam. It's likely Dave Hansen now, because you've identified yourself in the text. And you also, like 90% of all texts get read in 2 or 3 minutes. So by the time you call, like, oh, that's actually Guy calling me. I fill that as form. And
Okay.
you also have to, this is where we talked about contextualizing and personalizing. You also need to let people know how they reached out to you, because how many times did you have somebody when you're at Frenchie's in Fran Dev say, why are you reaching out to me? I didn't ask you to call me. And you're like, dude, you filled out a form on Facebook, like 30
Yeah.
seconds.
Right.
So
A
it's,
lot.
yeah. So, and you also follow up differently. Like, if it's an SEO lead, so let's take a step back. So speed to lead, mission critical, and plus nurturing. You have to continue to nurture that lead, because they might not respond. They might have been in the boardroom, literally bored, and filling out a lead form for you and your service, and they can't pick up their phone in the middle of a meeting, or they're in the bathroom, or they're at their kid's soccer game and their kid just shot a goal. Like, give
Yeah.
people
Things
space.
happen.
Yeah.
Right.
So, but nurture that lead probably depends on the buying cycle and consideration cycle, 14 to 28 days. That's usually normal. So speed to lead and nurture, that would be one. The second thing is you have to make sure that you're contextualizing your follow-up. So let's talk about SEO, and we'll switch over to Fran Dev for a minute. So
Okay.
let's say you've got a lead that comes through your website. It's an SEO lead, organic, comes right to the website, knows of you, searches you up, reads through your stuff, fills out your form. That's going to be your best lead you're ever going to get, other than a referral.
Sure.
So the conversion rate will be high, but do you need to put friction in that lead follow process? No, pull the friction out, move them along. They're already well prepared if they've read through your site. But what about a Facebook lead? And I'm not dogging on Facebook leads, because I know brands that crush it on Facebook, but
Mhm.
a little bit of a different sequence. You need to make sure that, one, you let them know where they reached out to you, so they don't forget. But also, you're going to add a little bit more friction in a higher funnel lead, right? Facebook leads are way at the top of the funnel. They're in the barely consideration phase and maybe awareness.
Right.
But when you're getting them down into the SEO, they're in like deep consideration, right? They're like, they're also educated. So you want to talk to them differently. Your broker leads, man, you got to talk to them differently. They've been already
Mm,
vetted, scraped mostly, unless you're working with brokers that are rookies. But so you're going to talk to a broker lead differently than a Facebook lead, different than an SEO lead, and that's why we've got to contextualize the automations too. So even
okay.
throwing an AI at it. So AI is great, but if you just throw a blanket AI at all leads, it's going to sound super generic, and it's not going to hook people as well as it should, or maybe add
Right.
friction in like it should. So I'd say that's number two.
Okay.
And number three is humans. I know people are saying, hey, we can fully automate these things. No, you can't. Like, if someone's, whether they're trying to buy a sprinkler job in their front yard, a window replacement job, a flooring job, a painting job, a roofing job, right? Or whether they're trying to buy a franchise, um, there's a very human element. So you really need to get human on human interaction as fast as you can. So that's why we integrate with AI tools to help with this, to get the appointment set so you can have a real meeting with somebody. So you got to think about automation as a way to eliminate minutia that humans aren't the best in the world at. Checking their inbox, sending out a follow up. They're really good at this face to face conversations
Yeah.
over Zoom, things like that.
Right. Yeah. So, number one, just to make sure I captured this correctly, and everybody else has too, it's speed to lead and nurture. Number two is contextualize it, depends on the source.
Hmm.
And then three, human to human interaction. That's the real key. That's where it really starts, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah,
Exactly
that's
right.
that's interesting, and that's for both Fran Dev as well as operational marketing and handling sales, incoming sales leads, because
Yeah.
people are spending so much money on digital and all those things. It seems like what Client Tether does, and with all these, because I'm not super high tech, I'm the opposite of you, um, is we would look at all these different tools and someone would say like, this is the best tool, it's either low price or it's high price, but it does all this. And then we would go down the path and we find out like it is an awesome tool, but it doesn't talk to this tool that we've already invested money in. So it's almost like
Yeah.
franchises, and tell me if this is another element that Client Tether not offers as a service, but your whole service does this, is it's like a tech strategist almost. Like, yeah, like you can try to, that's a great tool, but it's not going to work with your POS system, or it's, like the POS systems would be like, yeah, you don't have to use our credit card processing company, but then you don't have any of the data in any of our reporting. I'm like, okay, so pretty much we have to use your credit card processing,
Yeah.
right? So is
Yeah.
that another thing that like working with Client Tether would do for brands?
Yeah, to an extent. I mean, and I want to be really careful because there are guys like David Wheeler or others. They're like, that's their sweet spot is to do true tech strategy. But when
There
you're
it is.
talking about like, let's say, you need to solve a sales problem, you've got an existing tool. Like 2 hours ago, I was on the call with another technology provider because we're integrating into we've already integrated, and the brand that brought us on already has them. So we just said, hey, we've already got an integration. Let's plug them together. But let's make sure that what you need and what we think you need is what aligning with what they provide too. And so there needs to be someone that can guide that technology strategy. And most brands don't have it, honestly. They just don't have enough people to have the
No.
overhead. A true CIO, technology strategist, that's a $200,000 plus job.
Yeah.
It's a lot of royalty money that you got to pour into that. And
They're hiring the CMO and the CFO before they're hiring that person for sure.
because they've got to make some money to come in before they can buy the overhead. So yeah,
Yeah.
so the answer is partially yes. Like we'll consult with people and make sure that their tech stack works well with what we do. And it's also why we have webhooks and open APIs. Like we can tie into about anything. And and a lot of industries have proprietary back office tools, like the elderly care, senior care space. Like they're all on like WellSky or some tool like that. A lot of homes, like complex home services, try to use things like Service Titan. That's why we integrate with those things, because
Okay.
sure, you need the scheduling and the ERP side. Enjoy it. Their marketing automation sucks or is non-existent, or their CRM functionality is weak. So a lot of people will bookend with like Client Tether, but it really just you need to have an honest discussion. You need to really understand what they've got, and sometimes the answer is we can't integrate it. We can't do that, and that's okay. I think it's better to say it up front.
Yeah, for sure. So someone calls Client Tether and says, I've got this system. Well, we're at 50 units or something like that, maybe not
Mhm.
even. Um, what's the process? Do you guys have somebody that does like an intake and sees what they have, what their gaps are, and
Mhm.
suggests how does that work with Client Tether?
Yeah, but hopefully it's the same with everybody, but I doubt it. Um, we dive in pretty deep with the brands that we work with. Meaning we need to discover what are their goals, like where are they trying to go, why are they reaching out? Usually it's because they've had a failed implementation or maybe no implementation, and so they've got 20 different tools scattered around, no data, they can't track royalties properly. So we need to understand their current state, and then what are their critical systems that they operate within. So are there things they have to have they can't let go of? And if so, what's their vision of how we fill the gap? And then we do a deeper assessment to make sure we can, and if we can, then we will. And
Nice.
yeah, but also there are times where people have really good ideas. Franchise brands will say, Dave, we really want the system that can do this. And I'll say, we can't do that right now. Hey, Dennis Liskowski, our chief product officer, why don't you scope that out and then let's build it? And so all we do is franchising. So it's nice because I'm not like a big box here and we have to support 37 other industries that pay more money
Right.
to them than franchising. That's all we do. So probably 50% of our innovation still comes from cool client ideas. So
Yeah.
I love that we get to be very focused. It makes it easy to build cool
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah. And go deep and
Mhm.
really create some things that'll hopefully apply universally. I don't know if you've heard of the company 37 Signals out of Chicago.
Mhm.
They have like Basecamp
Oh,
and
okay.
some other softwares like that. And
Yeah.
they are notorious for like, no, we don't do that. No, like they don't like this is what we provide. They've got a great book. It's called Rework. It's like little chapters of like wisdom and knowledge. It's really good. But when
Mm.
you were talking earlier about like this is our lane, this is what we do really well, it was channeling a lot of the lessons from that book. Like you're doing them without even reading the book. So,
Yeah.
um, and it's really an example of that approach really paying off because you guys have grown exponentially since you started, obviously. And you're just doing a great job for the people in the industry, and we wouldn't be in it. You and I wouldn't be here talking about franchising unless we loved it and we saw how many lives it changed for the better. So,
Yeah.
thanks for doing everything that you do and for working the way you do. It shows that doing things the right way, being a good person, and success and wild, really good success are not mutually exclusive. So thanks for the example for everybody too.
Oh, I appreciate it. It's not without a lot of failure, though. I think some of the things that we learned early on, or even were counter to what I just shared with you, right? Like early on, we had a few clients. One of the bigger mistakes we made is we tried to do too much customization, right? We didn't do the 37. What was it? 37 signals?
37 signals. Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't follow that early on, so we learned the hard way with,
Hmm.
building something that got so convoluted for a brand. We're like, "What are we doing?" And they said the same thing, "What are we doing?" And so we had to scale it back, and I think that's an important lesson for anybody. And franchise brands, the same thing. I know a franchise brand that, well, he he had a certain concept and he was running down this road, and then he had a cool idea, so he added like a beverage business, and it eventually didn't end up well. And I think about that, I'm like, man, like you had such a good core service. And another buddy I was talking to, his he works for a company that they made safes. They made safes
Okay.
for guns and stuff.
Sure.
And when Budweiser had their almost comical blow up with getting way outside their love group, this
Hmm.
company that owned a bunch of they've got bought. So they own like a safe company and a whole bunch of outdoorsy type company brands. They decided they were going to make their own beer brand because like Budweiser's falling. Let's take advantage. Like what on earth were they thinking? Like he's over at my house sitting on a porch and we were laughing about how stupid this was. And he just got to watch it dissolve. And they're like, yeah,
Yeah.
they pour all their assets from all the other business units into this beer company to try to make it grow. And I'm like, that's so dumb. Like franchise
Yeah.
brands they get distracted. Coming back to the earliest conversation, right? Of like build versus buy. Like,
Mm.
do you really have the expertise to be a technology company? Or are you a really good plumbing company or a really good hair salon or nail salon? Like, if you then be a good nail salon and then
Yeah.
find the people that can help you with all the other ancillary things
Right.
that are really experts.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm I'm when it comes to that, having no background or confidence in our own tech skills on our team or everything. It was never, should we build it or should we buy it? So ignorance is bliss in some ways. Like, no, we have to buy it.
Yeah.
So we have to buy the right one. So no, this has been great. Dave, thank you so much for sharing about you, about ClientTether, about some tools and things to think about that anybody watching can put to use. Even that the one recommendation about humanize it by putting a video on everything that you can is gigantic. It's like not everybody's doing it, and it's not that hard. So
No.
thanks for your time, your expertise, and showing how you can be successful and a good person, and keep on helping people in the franchise industry because we see the benefits that it brings to individuals, families, communities, and the country. So thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure. Well, I appreciate you having me on, and agreed. Like franchising, it is a beautiful model. My wife and I were multi-unit franchises as well, and
Mm,
we've enjoyed the benefits of that personally. So I think
yeah,
anybody who wants to get into it, it's a good move, and definitely
yeah,
here to support that.
great. Thank you, Dave.
Yeah, thank you.
Take care. That wraps up today's episode of the Franchise Scale Up Show. If this gave you a strategy you can put into play, please share it with one founder who needs the help. You might save them months of pain. If you're ready to go deeper, whether it's building your support infrastructure, accelerating territory sales, or preparing for private equity, go to guycoffey.com. That's GUYCOFFEY, and book a free franchise growth strategy call. I only partner with founders who are committed to scaling without losing control. If that's you, I'd love to connect. Until next time, protect your vision, move fast, and scale smart. I'm Guy Coffey. Talk soon.